Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines we have for you today. We got key events this week. XRP leads $400 trillion revolution. National Bank says XRP's institutional grade asset. Wall Street banks launching G7 backed stablecoin platform. Is it on the XRP ledger? Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, look at this. We're back over $4 trillion, $4.01 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 4.9%. And right now, Bitcoin back at 114,800 plus, Ethereum 4,100 plus, and number 5 spots XRP at 258. And we're up 8.4% in the last 24 hours. We're off 13.8 on the 7-day, however. Let's take a look at this. Ranging between 237 and 265, we're at 256. The little engine that could is still strong like bull at my house, so I love seeing that. Now, let's take a look at this. It is Caleb and Brown, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this is the exchange that I had when I could not get a buy order to go through during that flash crash so I could buy the dip. Guess where I was able to get it to go through? Reached out to my prime broker. Boom, just like that. Within a minute, I get within a minute, it's less than that, actually, way less. I get an email immediately, executing order. And within 90 seconds, I've got the order for my folder. Done. While I'm on another exchange and I still haven't gotten the buy I wanted. I'm just telling you what happened. Listen, they have free institutional grade custody. Free. No charge for it. This is what I'm saying. You know, multiple layers of security, as well as you can add special restriction to your account if you'd like. This is the kind of, white glove service I like to have. Human customer service. You can't speak to a human being directly any other place, but you can here. I just had somebody who recently opened an account and they said, hey, I'm trying to talk to these people. I said, well, listen, finish opening your account and tell him you'd like to speak to them directly. And he did. And you know what? He just sent me a message. He said, this was the most amazing experience I've had. And I was like, I get it because I've never had it until now. So all you got to do is go to xrpwealth589.com, open up your free account, or click the link underneath the video to get started. Let's start right here. Key events this week, ladies and gentlemen. OPEC monthly report on Monday, today. Fed chair speaks tomorrow. New York Fed manufacturing index on Wednesday. Philly Fed manufacturing index Thursday. NAHB housing market index Thursday. And 10% of S&P 500 companies report earnings. The data blackout on the U.S. government shutdown continues. Now, we know in crypto land that later this week, the end of this week, we could see talk about the ETFs we're waiting for approvals on, right? So head on a swivel. There's a lot in front of us, and we could hear about rate cuts too. So here we see that while all of those things are in play this week, we know XRP is leading a $400 trillion revolution. How's Ripple's tokenization campaign is going to spark utility. And it is, because they're ready for it. And this is basically Levi Retveld here, who believes that he claimed the $400 trillion XRP revolution is underway and talking about the real world asset tokenization. And I believe we're going to push through that conversation as we move forward here, which is, to start with, Kazakhstan's chief digital officer, national bank thereof, says XRP is in fact an institutional grade asset. And it says it right here. Only a few institutional grade assets, along with Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, XRP, Solana, and Tron, managed to stay afloat. That's how they reference them at the National Bank of Kazakhstan right there. So that is hugely promising. And then we know we also have in front of us, not this week, but starting next month in November, you're going to get to 411 about how banks and SWIFT are in fact doing a big bang cutover, and here's how many are left to do it.
I feel like I've heard about 15 different ways of pronouncing ISO 20022. But with the deadline coming for that now for November 2025, that coexistence period, how would you say the transition has been globally?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We have been talking about ISO 20022 for a while, and it's certainly not new. It's been around for nearly 30 years. And in fact, the European banks were very much the front runners as they used ISO to embed in their payment systems, such as SEPA. So it's not new in that respect. It's just become a really key talking point as it's been rolled out for our cross-border payments, as well as various high-value payment schemes across the market. So it's been very, very topical in that sense. Right now, we're about 2 months away from the deadline of the coexistence period. The latest data as of July shows that we're about 49%. So in essence, it's taken the industry over 2.5 years to go from 15 to 49. And the industry is going to have to take the next 4 months to go from 50 to get the remaining 50% that we need to meet the deadline.
Mentioned obviously
And there you have it, but keep listening.
at the start that we're still some way off from full global kind of coverage here, but what might global adoption of ISO 20022 mean then for cross-border payments going forward?
Yeah, so the reason, if we look back and say the reason why we embarked on this journey was really around global harmonization and to have our various market infrastructures speaking a common language. And ISO 20022 has been the foundational enabler for our G20 roadmap, where we try to achieve the targets around reduced cost, increased transparency, and improve accessibility to cross-border payments.
So very quickly, you heard her say the G20 roadmap. Okay. So that's, look, all of this is hugely positive, and she's doubling down. This is happening next month with SWIFT. Well, listen to this conversation from Cybos here. Standard Chartered Bank talking with SWIFT. This is Thierry Chalosi here, Chief Business Officer at SWIFT, and Michael Spiegel, Global Head of Transact Banking at Standard Chartered Bank, on the benefits of blockchain DLT in innovating global finance. This is all coming.
Look, clients are increasingly looking at a world where they want not only to see data, but also assets and therefore value move instantly. And that's currently not the case. And in emerging markets, in fast-growing markets, the demand for always on is accelerating, and they're looking at reliable services. And tokenization is actually bringing a reliable service, actually brings innovation to the market that we can then bring to our clients. In my mind, the landscape of finance or digital finance is at a tipping point. So tokenization and digital assets are about to move from pilot into mainstream. And at Standard Chartered Bank, we have been a leader in this area.
Thierry, why is SWIFT a trusted backbone of global finance now moving into blockchain-based ledger technology?
Yes, so I'll take a step back. So today we connect about 11,500 financial institutions across the globe, over 200 countries. Michael has just said, financial institutions are already taking a leap forward around tokenization. We feel the momentum, and it's been on day 4 of Cybos, and every single meeting we're having, this embracing tokenization, as Michael said, is the new reality. There is a challenge, however. The ecosystem is still fragmented. There is a lack of global standards or interoperability, something that we've done at SWIFT on the fiat rails. So for us, extending the current infrastructure with a blockchain-based ledger, it's just a natural extension. It's the right time, it's a natural extension, and we're quite excited about the journey.
Of course, this isn't something SWIFT are doing alone, is it? How important is the community in making this a reality? Oh,
critical. You've seen that we are together with a group of over 30 global financial institutions. We need to tackle this together. Every single institution is already in its journey to improve the service level to their clients. And in order to unlock that benefit of scale, we need.
There you go. Standard Charter's been working with Ripple for years. And here, yes, ACI Worldwide is a partner of Ripple, which also is a partner to SWIFT. Yes, ACI is a longtime partner of SWIFT. We're in there. And we know Bill Winters, the CEO of Standard Chartered years ago, told us back in 2022, they were testing pilots with XRP.
Countries like Switzerland and China all testing out the digital currencies. How are you gearing up for the disruption of money with central bank digital currencies? How will it change the way you and other banks operate in future?
Probably fundamentally. While we're not formally involved, no foreign banks are involved in the Chinese ECNY, I think we're as close to that as we can be to understand how that digital currency can be used for cross-border trade. Going back 5 years, we had digital currency underpinned trade finance and money settlement systems, and using as a medium of exchange, using things like Ripple's XRP, for example, as a
well, there you have it. Look, they've been telling us for years, but everybody watches the chart and gets, and goes negative, right? We need the legislation. That's the fundamental news that we need to happen in order for all of this to be unlocked, the potential to be unlocked and fully realized. Just like we know Ripple's targeted 200 trillion market after Luxembourg talks, and we know that that's a deal because we saw the post when Bitcoin crowd announced that Luxembourg was going to take a position with Bitcoin. The next thing you know, Stuart Alderoty's legal chief legal officer started sharing all this stuff. Great meeting, and so did Giles Roth from Luxembourg finance minister. Started sharing all the things with Cassie Craddock and Stuart Alderoty. I mean, this is amazing. Again, we need the fundamental news and the global cooperation, and I believe we're about to get it. Remember, these protocols like the XRP Ledger are like a massive superhighway, brand new superhighway, but there's hardly any cars on it. Well, if they use the XRP Ledger for 9 of the world's largest Wall Street banks, have announced plans to jointly develop a reserve-backed stablecoin pegged to the major G7 currencies, a move signaling traditional finance's most ambitious push yet into blockchain-based payments. This is what the highway would look like to me. A superhighway with the G7 and eventually all the G20 nations' currencies represented digitally, tokenized, on these protocols like the XRP Ledger. That's what we're about to see. That's what I believe. That's where this is going. And I know I talked about it yesterday, but I believe not too long from now, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, and the United States will all have digital stablecoins and or CBDCs on the XRP Ledger and other chains to really establish what is going to be considered the new highway for the on-chain economy. I happen to feel like it's XRP Ledger. Some people feel it's something else. I believe there will be multiple chains to win, not just one, but I do believe the XRP Ledger will be one. And when they launch all of these stable coins, you're talking about having access into $5 trillion a day between the G7 nations alone. Just the G7. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're here for. That's why we're suffering flash crashes and delays and FUD and the rest of it. This is what we're waiting for. We're waiting for this spaghetti bowl of a world of money to look more like this with XRP in the middle. Now, obviously, they're not listing the G7 countries, all of them. There's some listed, but not all. But you get the point. This, I believe, is where we're going. Right here from there to launch that is going to look a lot like that when it's going. That's how I'm seeing it. I don't see anyone else working on this at all. I can't wait. Crypto Insight UK, shout out to you, Will. This guy's amazing. If you're not following him, I just don't know why. You should be. I've given you my case as to why I think XRP's next leg takes us out to $8 to $12. This is the area I've said I'll deleverage heavily. Isn't it funny looking at the recent liquidation event and throwing a fib on there to see where the price would take us if we see a 4.26 extension now? And you look at it, and your 4.236 extension puts us at 978. So should it work out, it smacks right there in the middle of the range that he's been looking at for quite some time. It's not financial advice from me or anyone else. We have a lot in front of us, and the window is getting tighter and tighter and tighter for these things to take place. whether it's the legislation being passed, signed into law, whether it's the ETF approvals, Ripple getting the bank charter, and then the Federal Reserve master account, all these things are still in front of us. And as this window tightens, I think it starts to lean in I start to lean in rather more to the idea that they're planning for a tight window, because when they let this thing go, it ain't coming back. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.